Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to My Spiritual Money RX. This is your host, Vivian S. de Guzman, the #1 money magnet activator. And today we have a special topic about activating your path and purpose blueprint. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of update. So I just came back from Sedona from a healing retreat, and I have taken a few women who are either in an employee transitioning to entrepreneurship, or they're like in corporate, right? Like they have their own kind of work. And you know how sometimes we go through our lives and we're like, is there any other thing that I need to be doing aside from what I'm doing now? So our path and purpose would call us to whatever that is, because that is a part of our soul growing up. You know how when you're a little kid and we have all of these imaginations, right? Like we're thinking about what would be good for me, right? Like maybe you like to travel, maybe you like to just do something special for other people. And your soul would always urge you to grow and move forward past all the limitations that either our family, our ancestors, or society has imposed upon us. So the more we know exactly what we want, so I want to encourage you to really bring that up into the surface. So today, our special guests, in this particular show, we want to share with you just a little bit of a path and purpose blueprint and how I went about that myself, and how I'm now sharing these gifts and talents with other women who also want to transition from whatever work they're doing to deliver more of their genius zone into the world. Okay, so I wanted to welcome Miss Monica Walker. Now, Monica is actually a client of mine currently, and she works in corporate. And Monica, welcome to the show. How are you, girl?
Hi, I'm good. How
You
about
look all refreshed from Sedona. Do you mind sharing with the viewers a little bit of where you were, and then just what magic happened in the last 3 days we were together? Just a little tiny bit.
I'll just say getting away to Sedona was definitely refreshing. It given the setup, given the environment, given the landscape, there's the ability to focus on myself, focus in on what kind of quiet out the rest of the world, and being able to just kind of get centered. And as one would say, commune with God, get connected with yourself, what's important to you, and then moments of reflection that sometimes can get drowned out because of busyness of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I wanted to share with the audience first. By the way, later on today, we're going to be joined also by our emotion code practitioner, Vienna Dunham, because she has some nuggets to share as well in this path and purpose blueprint that we're going to be talking about today. So Monica, all right, thank you for being here, by the way, taking time from your busy day and just having some moments with us here. Perfect, perfect. Thank you. All right. So let me, hold on, bring up something here. Okay, let's see. Pardon me with our little background here. Okay. So remember, Monica, when you started hearing me talking about like human design. So my mentor, Beth Davis, she's the one who introduced us to human design. And for me, it's fascinating because when I actually um, Miss Beth Davis shared with us our prosperity key. Our like prosperity key is kind of like, what are you supposed to focus on so you can actually make money? Because a lot of people that are transitioning, right? Let's say you're an employee and then you're going to create your own business, whether it's a side business or it's a full-time business. We tend to like do it all ourselves, right? Does that sound familiar, Miss Monica? Right? We try to do it all. But it's interesting because in corporate, we have people that work with us, right? We have a team of people. But then we don't quite translate that thinking, like when you have a business now, you do have to have a group of people that will work with you. But we try to do it all by ourselves. So I want to share this with you so then you know exactly where do you need to go when it comes to your prosperity key, okay? And in human design, okay, so I'm going to remove us here for a second. In human design, I want you to see these 6 possibilities where you need to stay. So you can see there's simplicity, right? Line 1. Recognition is line 2. Celebration was line 3. Line 4 was charity. Line 5 is power. And then line 6 is nature. So Miss Monica, I had her plot this for herself. So when you look at that particular area, what was your personality Jupiter or your prosperity key or pearl? What number were you?
4.
So Monica is a line 4, which means charity, right? So what does that word mean to you? Like when you said, okay, charity.
So you mean just like faith, love, peace?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's charity is giving, and giving of yourself freely, or giving of X freely.
Yeah, and you're already very charitable. When I met you, I'm like, wow, she's giving this, she's giving time, she's giving money, she's giving her attention, right? So she is very charitable. And so she's like, oh yeah, that's no problem. I got that. Okay, so if she just lives her design and keeps on really just giving, so how does she apply this when she goes into her own business, right? You know how there are like free clarity calls, like free, it's almost like your intake when you are screening your potential clients. Definitely, she needs some form of a free call so that she can understand and perhaps give one piece of advice, not everything, right? Not the whole layout, but just a way for people to actually know that she knows what she's talking about when she starts coaching. Does that make sense?
Okay,
So
yeah.
that would be
That's how
her
I could
key
apply
to
that.
her prosperity, right?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to share again another thing. Now, what does she need to focus on when she starts to run her own business? Okay, here we go. So as you can see, there is production, like the people that do the job, right? Line 2 was marketing. Marketing is the person that actually shares with the world. Like this TV show is a form of marketing, and I happen to have that line, marketing, in my human design. Some people are good at strategy, line 3. Some people are good at sales. And Miss Monica is actually, she needs to focus her energy. 80% of what she does needs to be in sales. That's line 4 for her. Line 5 is management. That means you're the one that assigned to other people what to do, right? And then line 6 is philanthropy or investment. So maybe you're associated with like a nonprofit, or you have a nonprofit in your company. So your desk work or your vocation, your design Mars, based on human design, that would be great for you to focus your energy on. Obviously, when we're starting a business, we probably start with everything ourselves, but as soon as you stay in your lane, my mentor always says, stay in your lane, you will actually grow this business faster than if you try to do everything yourself. And I remember myself starting a business in the past. Oh my Lord, I was doing it all. And then, of course, you're stressed out, you get burned out, and then you stop delivering, and then you have more complaints. So you see how you need to know where you need to be at the beginning of what you're about to do in order for you to actually succeed. Okay. And then the last piece here. Okay, Monica has a comment. Go ahead, Monica. What
Oh, you said
was that an aha for you when you realized that you need to be in sales?
I don't like sales.
You're used to that already.
No,
No, you're not.
no.
By the way, selling, let's define selling. Selling
And
is
so when you
helping.
just said
Selling is helping. Are you good at helping people?
yes,
Okay. So that's really just stay there. Keep on
but
helping.
isn't that the same as charity?
Yeah. Well, charity means is
I
there an
mean, the way that we just
exchange?
described it.
Yeah. Well, the difference here in sales is you're going to have an exchange for your time and energy, so you're going to get paid. Does that make sense?
It does. And then I do have a question though. How do I know? Like I heard you say like 80%, right? That just seems like a significant amount of time. Why is that?
Because if you stay in that lane, most likely your business will actually grow because every single one has a department or a specialty. So you know who to look for when you start recruiting for the people that you need to hire in your team.
Okay.
Does that help you like stay focused? Because most entrepreneurs are scattered. That's the reason why they don't make money. That's really part of it. Okay, and then the last column here, let me share it with you. This talks about your business structure. In other words, if you live your own design, right, your human design, what kind of business structure are you going to create? Because remember, for me, I actually did doTERRA in the past. It was a network marketing business, right? And so in the beginning, I was all good and happy. And then after a while, it became very heavy because there's too many people. You know, I had like more than 1,000 people in my team. And I realized that I need to be a unit, like very small number of people. So this is how the Design Jupiter. So as you can see there, right, one is individual. Some people, like my husband, likes to work by himself. His design is actually individual. He really doesn't like partnership. Like he doesn't thrive that way. So some people, they just are good living and working by themselves. Now, some people need a partner, right? Like to make decisions in their business. Monica and I are line 3. We're unit. So 3 to 15 people, that's ideal for the structure for the business we're creating. Now, some people, line 4, network, right? More than 15 people. They really thrive in doing that. Like network marketers, they're very good at that, right? And then line 5 is society, like you're there to actually give back, right, to society and work with the masses, so to speak. And then line 6 is a system. So some people are good at, okay, so that's the system I design. It should work this way, and this is the system I design. So it's more structured. Some people super structured. They have to do it a certain way for things to move properly. I mean, if you look at Amazon, right? If you look at the big companies, Google, definitely there's a system. Even Uber, right? Like that's a system by itself, like how things just move seamlessly. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't create our system in our company, but what I'm saying is when you're starting to do what you're doing to be really happy and alive, you got to stay in your lane. Like how your body is designed, how you are wired, that's the best way to do things. to form your own business. Okay, let me go ahead, Monica.
Okay, as you see me kind of raising my hand.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so this is saying, so I get, let me say my question, my thought. So I hear the 3 to 11 units, less than 15 people. Got it. So, but that doesn't mean that I might occasionally want to speak into a group of people, like, do a
Oh
public
yeah,
speaking event or something like
that's
that.
marketing.
That's a different, okay, that's marketing.
No, this is the
Or what if I'm
structure of
hired,
your
right?
business.
What if I'm
You can
hired
talk
to
to thousands of people, no problem. That's your marketing.
do?
Okay.
Okay.
However, I'm talking about your team when you're creating your business structure. Who are the ones intimately connected with your business? That's what it's
Makes
about.
sense. Okay. Gotcha. As opposed to you're only going to do 3 to 15 people at a time
Yeah.
that you're going to do ever market to. Okay.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Speaking is a form of marketing, right? Because you're letting yourself be known out there, what you really do. So, in other words, like even if I speak to 100, 500, or 1,000 people, not all of those are my clients, right? So, if we have like our ideal avatar, meaning to say those are the people we truly serve, and I think of an avatar as just one person, when I'm creating my packages, I'm thinking of one particular person. I'm not thinking about, oh, the 10 ladies that I want to be in my program. No, that's not how I design packages. It's really you think of one person and you're like intimately connected with who they are, what they need, what are the things that keep them up at night, right? And what is it that they want to resolve. So when I'm designing something like a package, kind of like this path and purpose blueprint, I'm just thinking about that one person. So when I speak, it sounds like I'm talking to them, right? So when I go on stage, they hear me because I'm just speaking to one person. It's up to them to pre-qualify themselves if they want to come in that fold or not. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if I try to say I'm yellow, but I'm blue and I'm red as well, aren't you confused already? I just told you 3 colors,
Definitely.
right? But when I'm speaking to just you, you're wearing yellow today, and I'm just speaking to you, you're hearing me. Like every word that comes out of my mouth, you hear what I'm saying, and you're identifying with it because I'm talking to one, not 10 or 3 or whatever number you choose.
That makes sense.
Is
Okay.
that making sense? It's the
Yeah.
focus and the clarity.
Yes, that makes sense. Because when I was thinking about like the team size and all that, I was like, or if team size versus like your client size, and I get that you've distinguished the two. So thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay. So, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to look at your design, right? So obviously there's more to that human design. And we went to humandesignamerica.com, and that's a free report actually. So obviously the interpretation, they also tell you to, like, if you want a little bit further insight into human design, you can take a look at that. There's also the Jovian archive, and there's more resources out there in the internet. It's not about knowing the information though. I noticed this in people. They know the information, but the question is they sometimes get frozen on what to do. Do you notice that? So sometimes they're looking for outside of them to tell them what to do, right? When they can actually just find out within themselves. It's a longing. It's like a desire inside. This is what I noticed when I was in this transformational space. I was doing physical therapy, right? I had a job, it paid well, but inside you're like, I'm not quite happy. Like there's something inside, but I can't quite put my finger on it a few years back. You just know there's something better for you and you can't quite explain it. That's why we look for something. That's why we learn more tools. That's why we enroll in different programs. That's the reason why we go to Sedona retreats, right? Like we're looking for something. I guess I'm going to ask you, Miss Monica. So when you were, is that some kind of a desire, a longing? Like, can you share with the audience, like, how does it feel when you know you're doing everything that you know you're supposed to do, like you feel like you're doing everything, but then is it the level of happiness? Like what's inside of you that made you go further than what you're doing, than just continuing what you're doing?
Um, for me, it became a you know, when you're a kid and they always, and you're asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you know,
What do you want to be when you grow up? Yep,
yeah,
that's a good
you
one.
can say anything, right? You were like, I'm a lawyer, you know, a firefighter, policeman, you know, whatever you decide to come up with, right? Singer, superstar. But for me, it was a few different things. And so where I'm at now, you know, life happens, right? And so you go to college, you know, you get guided by your parents that love you and
Mhm.
teach you the best way that they know how. And you become what you think should be, or you get to college undergrad and it kind of is not so easy. Or you get offered a job and you're like, that's a good amount of money. I think I'll go that path, right? um but still there's an inner knowing, or, you know, there's a still small voice that's like, hey, I still have this for you to do, or hey, don't forget about X that you put on the shelf. um or you get glimpses in your personal life, right? So, you know, I sing in the choir, or, you know, I volunteer in the community and do various things. And so you realize, like, hey, I like how that feels, or you're helping somebody else. And then you're
Yeah,
like, I wouldn't mind doing this a little bit more often. And so it's those glimpses that beckon you to do a little bit more and at least explore what it
yeah,
is, right? And even
yes,
if you know, you might only dip your toe in the water, you at least, you know, the answer the question that's being asked, right? And even if you decide, hey, this is more than me, it's better to at least explore the option than to regret it. So that's what happened.
Mhm.
That's where I'm at right now. You know, I am, you know, still corporate. I still have my own limitations, you know, personal boundaries that I am honoring. And so I'm doing that transition. And so for me, like, as you were just talking here a second ago, where you're saying, hey, people are stuck, I think about, there's a couple things, right? If you're trying to say, I'm going to go do this huge life change, I'm going to go from point A to point B. You know, some people are, you know, definitely transient in that they can say, you know, someone's like, hey, come, you know, let's leave all that you know and pack up and move tomorrow. That's not me. Not me.
Right.
Not me at all.
Yep.
Um, but as far as I have a dream, I have a desire, that I've been doing kind of as a hobby. And so how do I now take it to the next level? What I see is this kind of human design is it at least gives you a starting point, right? It at least can help give you an initial start to wave out some of the cobwebs, or even keep you from bumping your head so much.
Yeah. And
So
there's a guidance system, which is great, right? Because you know how it's harder, it's called faith for people, right? Like
yeah.
when you say, yeah, just leave it all alone and just move on to your new path, that's pure faith. And
Hmm.
some people, like you said, maybe they say they love God, but maybe they don't have all that faith, right? In
And yeah,
themselves.
and
Right.
there's different levels of faith, even in
Yes.
God, right? Or
Yep.
whatever your higher power then may be. You know, I believe in Jesus, and so I'm like, here's what I'm feeling, and you know, just for me, there's a scripture that says you're going from faith to faith. That means I get to know you a little bit better in a different way. Just like when I was a kid. And I knew my mother as a, you know, a guidance, and my mother and father, right? Like they're the law. And then when I got to be college, then you know you're transitioning into a friend, because I get a chance to have a different level of conversation instead of just permission
Yep.
conversation.
Exactly.
And then, you know, and
Yep.
then when you get to be an adult, you know, it keeps going on from there. But I mean, and that's what it means for me, from faith to faith, to just learning from one level to the next. Just like, you know, when you're in college, you're learning how to do the job, and now you're actually owning the process, to now you're owning the business. So
Yep.
again, you're constantly growing. And
Yeah,
so
because
that's what it
you
means for
own
me.
the business, right? Now you hold space for other people. And by the way, for Miss Monica, purpose is the right angle cross of loss, meaning it says here, you have the energy that drives you to have loss. Like think about a society without any agreements, rules, and regulations. It's going to be chaos, unfortunately, right? That's the reason why laws are erected. Now, as a young child with this cross, if there were no rules and laws in your house, you may have found the scenario disturbing. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, that could possibly be correct, but we always had structure growing up.
Structure, that's a good way of putting it. Yep,
And
yep,
so,
yep.
there was, hey, this is when we're about to eat. You knew the rhythm of the house. You knew,
Yep.
when it's time to start cooking dinner. You know when the dinner is being cooked, and
Yep.
you need to make sure you finish your homework. Hey, it's time to start getting that bath so you can get ready for bed, right? Like you get the rhythm of the house, right?
The rhythm of the house, right?
Yeah.
And that's important. If there's no rhythm, then you're going to be confused and there's going to be chaos.
Like, what's going on here? Uh-oh.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why she likes, and you've seen her, right? So everybody has a different approach, obviously, right? But the more you know your own design, it's going to be more magical and transformational for you. It's almost like a little kid opening a present. Ooh, I wonder what this is all about, right? So it becomes more that way rather than, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I'm going to hold on to the seat because I don't know what's going to drop, versus, oh, I wonder what's over there. I wonder what's over here. Does that make sense? There's more like a path. Okay. All right. Well, let's bring in Miss Vienna Dunham. Miss Vienna is our emotion code practitioner. And both of you are at present, from Kansas. Believe it or not. Hi, Vienna.
Hello, ladies. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
You've been hearing our conversation there in the background, and I am so glad you connected me and Monica together, and we had a magical time in Sedona.
I plan to be there next time. I am not missing out.
Next time, make sure that you're there. Okay. So Vienna has been our emotion code practitioner over the last few months in our academy, Transformational Wellness Academy. And of course, the clients are loving Vienna and her work because we are learning things about ourselves, about emotion, that we don't even know we had those trapped emotions, right? Now, you also introduced to us some new things. Would you like to talk about a little bit about that and how that can help a person uncover their path and purpose?
Absolutely. I've benefited so much from emotion code myself, and that's what pushed me to go get the training. And then I started doing it with friends and family, and they're like, oh my goodness, this changes things. So that's how it is that I came to offer it. And now the new step is finding out heart coherence. And I was feeling so transformed. Like all of last year for me was at cocoon time. I was very much tucked away. I mean, we're all in lockdown, right? But it was very purposeful for me. I was transitioning, transforming. And so I came out and I thought, oh, I must be near the finish line now. This is, I mean, not in terms of my life, but it's like, oh, I've almost arrived. Yes, finally. I got to grow up. And then I learned about heart coherence, and I used muscle testing, kinesiology, to check on my numbers for heart coherence. And the scale, okay, I'm going to tell you what my number was first. It was 18. And that's okay if your scale's 20 or even 50, maybe, even 100, but it's 1,000.
The highest is 1,000.
Yeah. So I was dragging my little behind along on the tarmac, on the road, right? I was not flying. So yeah, shocking. So I did everything I knew to do, and I bumped it all the way up to 55 over the course of about 2 months. And as I read in David R. Hawkins' book, Power versus Force, which is part of what that is about, the scale is from his book. And he said, even a few points raising on the scale in terms of the whole person, not just heart coherence, but the whole person. Just a few points is a major deal. So I can
Mhm.
be encouraged to be at 55, right?
Yep, yep.
And then, but I was like, I'm missing something. So then I went through a process that I learned from a mentor, Stephen Keller,
Mhm.
and he taught me to look for the root cause, the
Mm,
genesis event that was keeping my heart coherence stuck down. And so
mm,
I see it as a beach ball that's tethered, and it's like stuck at the bottom of the pool. Well,
yep.
I've been for the last couple of years putting air in this beach ball. I've had this mentor and gone through this program and learned these things and had these answers to prayer and all this. And so I'm feeling like I should be rising. What's up with this? I've done so much. And then the day that I worked on this root cause, this genesis event to the heart coherence, it was like those tethers got severed, and all of a sudden it's like whoosh, and my
Mm,
little beach ball rises up, and my heart coherence. I was instructed to go to bed. It was midnight. It's fine. Heal, allow divine healing in the night,
mhm.
and in the morning I got up and checked my score, and it was 755. I was like, wow. So all that
See how
homework,
that sleep and integration does help? Because some people,
yes,
I think, they're like doing, doing, doing. They forgot they're a human being, not a human doing.
right.
So I always tell my clients, right? And you've seen this in my clients who work with them. They do move fast and they're like, but what else can I uncover, right?
Mhm.
What's next?
Yes.
Sometimes we need a good night's sleep. That's all you did. You're just like, you went to bed and you almost allow like the time and space and the rest to bring it all together. And then you
Yeah.
were surprised the next
Yes,
morning
by joy.
with a lot of joy. Yeah, exactly. So now the question we have, remember, it's our path and purpose, right? Like sometimes our path and purpose, I'm going to bring this up. What if your purpose is different from what your family wants you to have, right? This came up for us, Monica and I, and Amy also. We were in Sedona, and you know how sometimes your family's desires are different than yours.
Yes.
How many times have we seen that?
Can I share a little bit on that, Vivian?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So that was true for me. My family is a very big influence for me. Uh, Church,
Church.
friends, I have all these people that I look up to. And so before finding Emotion Code, I was actually in my own heart and mind a child. I'd gotten locked down in child form. So every authority relationship, I was a child. You want me to jump? How high? I was letting everybody else call the shots. And so then, as in that course of that year, last year, I I grew up to someone who could stand tall as a 60-year-old. I'm like, oh my goodness, now,
Oh
and
my
it
God.
right, and in the midst of that, I found my voice. When I let everybody else call the shots, who
Mhm.
needs a voice, for goodness sake? Somebody else can speak for you. And then, but when you realize I was born with a purpose, and then it's like, oh my goodness. So part of my working with you, Vivian, has been to believe that I have something worth saying and that I'm able to say it. And so you've
Oh,
helped me to believe in myself. In fact, Monica and I had a conversation and she said, it just amazes me. And I had the same feeling when Vivian says, what do you think about this? And it's like, what? What? You're the teacher. You're asking me what I think, you know? And it's just so your approach is so honoring of our
oh,
journey. Each of your clients, you honor their journey, and then you bring them along. So, hey, what if this is possible? And just allow us to dream. And your childlikeness, you love
mhm.
to play. Let's see what we can do to have fun today. That just permissions us to
Yeah,
go ahead and live in joy and not have to be
yeah,
so serious and stuck all the time.
right.
So letting those layers peel off
Yeah.
from all of the stuff of life, all the way back to childhood. And actually, I had a really interesting story with my brother last night. We were working on clearing his heart wall, and he gave me permission to share this. He said,
Okay, good.
if I were an older age, I wouldn't, but get ready to laugh. So
Okay.
he's he was asking the question about, what can we get rid of in the heart wall? So we'd gotten rid of some stuff at 16 and some stuff at age 7. And then came up 5 different things at age 2. Well, that's pretty young. Most of us hardly even have memories at that age, right?
Yes, yes.
And so we're going down through, it's shock. So these are trapped negative emotions that get trapped in the body in an adrenaline, cortisol, stress hormone moment. Emotions that normally would just process through and pass through get trapped in the body. Shock, unsupported, panic, indecisiveness, and low self-esteem. And I mean, lots of instances of low self-esteem. It was 657 instances. At this 2-year-old stage, it's like, what was going on? And he said, oh my gosh, I just had a memory come. And he said, actually, it comes to me every year or two. It just pops up as this 2-year-old. I'm like, how's that even possible? But it was that strong of a memory. And he said, would you muscle test if this has to do with white shoes and poop? I said, are you even kidding me? He's like, no, would you just find out? And so I use a form of muscle strength for muscle testing. And so, does this have to do with white shoes and poop? Yes.
No.
So the story was, he was walking around the house in mom's white shoes, 2 years old. Oh, these are pretty, and all of a sudden he felt something running down his legs. And he pooped in mom's white shoes. Shock, unsupported, panic, indecisive. What do I do now?
What do I do now?
Low self-esteem.
Wow. So all of those, the brain just connected them all and put a feeling to it. And here comes a person growing up and carrying them all throughout until it's cleared.
That's right.
God. I mean, do you see how that would affect your decisions?
Exactly. How's he gonna run forward in business, if he's in this place of indecisiveness and low self-esteem? There's just this unexplainable lockdown, and it's not bad little brother, it's just this happened. Nobody's even laying any blame, and yet he took it on. He's a very responsible type person, right? So now he's free. I can't wait to talk to him tonight and see how he's feeling today, because that's 5 more emotions gone out of his heart wall, which, what does that mean? That's like, now whenever communication comes to him, it doesn't have to pass through as many layers of heart wall, which can be miles deep. And we're about 2 sessions away from his heart wall being completely cleared. And then the other thing is, communication going out from him doesn't pass through all these layers of heart wall and get twisted and whatever. He'll be able to have clear communication in and out. So it's a tool. Oh my goodness. Let's all get free.
Thank you for thank you for being you, Vienna. Monica, go ahead. I think you have something to share.
Well, I was just thinking about that too. It talks about what's different from family, what your family wants is, there's a couple things where sometimes, we talked about being a helper and me loving to help people. And, as you grow up, but the other thing that gets me is sometimes you forget to check in with yourself. You forget to say, what do I want? And sometimes we can just do it on purpose. Accidentally on purpose is what I'll say, because you're used to the obligations or commitments that you've done, and you just have this busyness, and you either forget or you don't check in. And so sometimes if you don't know what it is you want, just getting away, being quiet, sitting with those emotions, kind of asking yourself is very key. Even if it varies from what you've trained yourself or fashioned yourself to be. Because how many times have we seen on television where there's like a Wall Street person who all of a sudden becomes a baker. Like, oh, I just have always loved to bake, and they have some kind of bakery or something. I mean, some extreme something. And, you know, as Deanna mentioned about that cocoon, sometimes just that quietness and being able to sit with yourself is allowing you to kind of check in again and hear. And that's one of the benefits, you know, of COVID has been you couldn't go out even if you wanted to, and so you get a chance to have those real talks, and
Yep.
and if we don't run from it, it becomes beneficial.
Exactly. All right. Thank you for that. So as you can see, the first thing Monica mentioned was you do need to know what you want. When you're a kid, I mean, this is what we're going to go over our Path and Purpose Blueprint class, right? If you don't know what you want, everybody will tell you what you need to want. And unfortunately, if you have this blind faith of just following what everybody else says, maybe that's not really what you want. And you're not going to be happy, by the way. You're not going to be satisfied. You're not going to be at peace with yourself if you really don't identify that. Okay? And then Monica mentioned, then what do you do now, right? What do you do about what that want is? So sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to do that, whatever that is for you. So for Monica, it could be just a trip, giving herself permission to do so. Not working for those few days, right? And then the question is, what can I do? So sometimes we get stifled because we belong to a tribe, right? We belong to a certain family, and sometimes we're waiting for them to tell us. So that means there's a part of us maybe that still didn't grow up, right? We're still acting like a child or a teenager, and we're still asking permission from someone to really do what we can do as an adult. Now, usually, why will you do it? Why will I do this, right? Why do I help other people, other entrepreneurs transition from employee to an entrepreneur? Why? Because your why is your purpose, right? Like why, it's a big why. If you're not convinced why you're doing something, you're always going to stop yourself in the middle of the road. You're like driving to San Francisco and you're like, oh, maybe I changed my mind. Not today. Or maybe I'll do it in 2 years, right? Like you keep on backing up because you're not sure why. So you do have to be clear. And for Monica, she already knows her path and purpose includes it is the right angle cross of laws. She has to create her own law herself for herself first, and what works for her and her business. Okay. And then the ones that are attracted to that type of situation, because it works for them as well, that they have some form of a structure and like a guide and a path and a step 1 and 2 and 3, that will work, right? Because that's her tribe. That's the people that she will be attracting. And the last part is, who gives you permission to do it? Sometimes we're just asking for permission. Sometimes, I guess we're used to that as a child. Like, can I do this? Can I go outside now? Can I play in the rain? I used to play in the rain a lot, by the way, and I didn't care. I was just enjoying it, right? And I would cook something and I would create. I love creating something that looks kind of different than what everybody else is eating. That's just
take it out of mud outside.
I was given permission. And when I was younger, of course, I get spanked or scolded for like, you stayed too long outside, Vivian. You're supposed to be back at a certain time. Oh, Lordy. But then I just love doing that. It's kind of like, why is there a time for everything? Anyway, that's the structure part that Monica's good at. But you know, when you're a kid, you don't have that, right? You're like, I just want to play. I don't really care if it's dark or it's light. I just want to play. So I'm like a kid at heart, obviously. You guys see that. Even if I have this TV show, it's running on a regular basis, I always have to squeeze in the fun, because otherwise I'm like, why am I doing that if I'm not having fun? That's just not me.
And
Yeah,
but that also is part of the structure as well, is to
yeah,
structure in the playtime. I mean, everything does not have to be serious, even with the love.
exactly. Yeah.
So it's just making sure that you're clear. Like, I had a friend of mine talk about, well, something she didn't even realize that she was saying. She has a daughter, and so she goes into the store, and she actually is a business owner. And so, one thing that the daughter is young, and it's kind of like, hey, I'm ready to go play, get toys or whatever. And so she told her daughter, business first, play later, right? First take care of business, and then we can go play. And it will be something as simple as going into, say, Walmart or Target or some other kind of store. And yeah,
Right.
you are definitely going to get your toy, you're definitely going to get your reward, but it has to be after we take care of this first part of business. But again, that to me seems like a type of structure that would be acceptable. You just
Yep. Yep.
have your compartments, as I'm sitting here thinking.
Exactly. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for that. All right. So obviously, so Vienna and I, we work together pretty much a lot in our programs because in the past, I would do the physical clearing, the spiritual clearing, and psychic clearing, and even the emotional stuff, right? And even the mindset. And I'm like, after a while, it gets kind of tiring. You're by yourself doing all these things, and a human is a bit complex, don't you think? We're not just like one piece, one side, right? We have different facets of our existence. And so I've learned to ask for help because remember, I like to have fun. So there are parts of my business that I love doing, which is the ones that people can't see, the psychic side and the spiritual side. I love those because if I can connect them to the physical world, they got it, right? It's kind of like, whoa, it's called alignment, by the way. Alignment it is, right? I mean, think about it. If your mind, body, soul, and spirit are aligned, in other words, what you think, what you feel, what you say, and what you do match, don't you feel good?
Powerful.
Right. But if you don't do that, that's why you think of something, you do something, let's say you offer something to your audience, and then you're like, why is it like crickets? Nobody's responding to me. Because of your own alignment. You are your own magnet to the universe. You are your own magnet to your ideal clients. So, if you can learn simple tools of alignment, like you can do your own hands-on connections, right, to your head. There's different parts of your anatomy, by the way, different parts of your body that if you actually connect it to the right location, like they start talking to one another. Can you imagine if your head and your heart are starting to talk to one another, like they're communicating? What do you think will happen?
The lights come on.
I'm like, oh, I pushed that button. This actually works. Oh my God, right? So a lot of times we do something, we expect a result, but because the other circuit is not connected, that's the reason why it doesn't work.
So as I'm sitting here, is an example of that, like, if someone's like, hey, this is what I want to do, but every time you turn around, they haven't made progress. It's like, and they'll say, I feel like I'm stuck, right? Where they want to, but they don't. Like they want to do X, but they don't do X. Is that an example?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when you're doing something and nothing's happening, that's not normal. I mean, think about it, right? If I roll a ball, it'll move and it'll bump against something. Yes? I mean, it's simple. But then I'm like, if I've rolled 10 balls and nothing's happening, what's going on? So we think it's the world outside of us, but sometimes it's us. It's really us.
So like there might be something, if you're rolling a ball, like and all 10 of them don't go anywhere, like could the floor be messed up or something?
Right. Yeah. So when you push, let's say you have, so because some people they create like 10 different programs and then they roll it out. Still no one inquiring, no one saying, oh, I would love to learn a little bit about that. Because sometimes it's out of alignment. You're doing too many things, you're not really focused, you don't know who you're really helping. So you're trying to call 10 different people, but really you're just really looking for the one kind of person. That's why in the beginning of the show, we talked about you need to know your ideal client, right? Your ideal avatar. So when you speak, you're heard. So then it's more efficient rather than too much work, and then you're expecting a different result, right? So this Path and Purpose Blueprint class, it's going to start actually next Wednesday, right, at 4 o'clock. This is good when you don't know what to do, okay? When you don't know what to do, when things become meaningless. You know how some people, I was watching something about the shaman last night in Netflix. You know how some people look for their purpose? Because they don't feel a meaning in their life. So these people tend to be suicidal. They don't want to live, because if you don't have a purpose, and he was in college, by the way, it was interesting. And so he started looking for shamans to help him, right? Or sometimes we look for relationships, or our relationships have no meaning. Okay, so sometimes our relationships are too dramatic, right? So this is a good class for those people that just need that alignment. They don't know what to do, and they actually need to sometimes calm down because they're doing too many things. They don't even know what's working and what's not working, right? So I invite you all to go to viviandeguzman.com/Path and Purpose Blueprint. We are going to start this class next Wednesday. It's going to be a 4 to 5 p.m. class. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to have the class for like 6 sessions. And then Vienna is going to actually help you with her emotion code and her new levels of consciousness that she's so excited about, right? Because when you're changing and you're transforming, you get scared, right? The emotions come up. You try not to do it because you think your mother may not approve of it, or perhaps you lose certain people in your life that well, they're bothering you anyway. They're not really beneficial for you, is what I'm saying. But it's still a change. And when you're changing, you need some holding hands. Like somebody needs to guide you to get there. And this comes with a 1 session. We call it a breakthrough money session with me, like a private session. So then you know what to do next. Because what I've noticed with entrepreneurs is you know where you're going, right? You know what you want to do. But then without support, okay, life happens and you become very, very busy every single day. And when you're extremely busy, you forget what that goal was to begin with. And you just let go of that dream. And if you're surrounded by people that are not really in the same journey as you are, you just sometimes just give up. You decide, I'm just not going to do it. Yeah, that doesn't work. Well, and then you get frustrated again and you try to find a different avenue, right? So yeah, go ahead.
Can I tell a quick story? You know, I'm the storyteller.
Yes.
So the picture that popped up for me while you were talking is there are times that like I lose a cell phone cord. I left one on a trip, you know, so I'm taking it from the kitchen to the bedroom, and so I pulled out an old one that used to have a malfunction. Maybe it'll work now, you know. So I'm pulling out a broken thing thinking, maybe this will work. So I plug it in and realize this isn't working. Well, it could be all kinds of things wrong. And so what I love, Vivian, about your work is that it's very diagnostic. And we're not talking about medical here necessarily, although you have many insights even in that world. But is it that the power's out in the whole neighborhood? Or did I blow this fuse? Or is it the little cube that I plugged it into? Or is it the cord? Which end of the cord is it? Or is it actually, like I plugged into an old cell phone the other day and it said, oh, there's water in the charging port. I'm like, what? No, I don't think so. But it can be anywhere along the path that there's dysfunction. But if I just decide, well, maybe it'll go ahead and charge in the night if I just go ahead and go to bed. You know what? I wake up to a dead cell phone if I wake up without an alarm. Otherwise, I sleep through a dead cell phone.
Yeah.
But anyway, sometimes we just need help to diagnose this thing, or somebody to say, you know what, that cord is toast. Go buy a new one.
Mhm.
Sometimes I have to have somebody tell me this.
Yeah. Simple things, right? And it's funny, you give them the answer and they sometimes take it, sometimes they don't. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine, right? So if you're being called to finally figure out what your path and purpose is, so we're going to go over your human design, at least to know, okay, what lane am I going to stay in? Because if you don't know that lane, you guys, you're going to try to look for it. And sometimes some people take years, sometimes their whole lifetime.
Right.
So if you check out from this planet and you haven't really lived your purpose, doesn't quite feel good, right? Checking out. So if you look at that RIP at the end, like, how would you like to leave a legacy for this planet in this lifetime?
Yes.
I think that's a powerful question. If I look at like, oh no, I better like do something good every day that I can be proud of myself. When I check out from this planet, my work is done, right? I can have a choice whether I come back or don't come back. So I leave you with that. That's kind of deep. Well, thank you, Monica, and thank you, Vienna, for being part of our show today.
Pleasure.
We hope that this has touched your hearts, touched your lives in a positive way, and that you can give yourself permission to move forward towards your path and purpose as soon as possible, right? Because it's fun actually living life, by the way. Isn't it fun, Monica? We had fun in Sedona. We had so much fun. We were like laughing and talking some more at night. It was good. It was good. Even when I brought her to the airport, she was having fun. And Amy too. So it was all good.
Life is funner when you are doing what you want.
Yes.
That's true. And
All right,
Vivian, one more little story. I last year, one of the first emotion code sessions someone was doing with me when I was like just emotionally roller coastering, and we cleared out a trapped emotion that was hundreds of thousands of miles. It was so big. And she said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel like I have a cavern the size of the Grand Canyon in my chest. This had been trapped in my heart.
Wow.
And she said, what would you like to fill that with? And I did, love, joy, peace, kind of some standard stuff. And it was maybe half full. And she said, let's just be still and listen, see what God has to say. And clear as anything, I sensed coming alive. And so I put my hands on my heart and just said, all right, would you fill me up with coming alive? And then till now, that's what this journey is being about, is coming alive. So woohoo. Come join me.
Staying alive, staying alive. So we leave you with staying alive. So I want you to stay alive and join us if you're called to. Otherwise, I'll see you all again next Wednesday during our show, My Spiritual Money RX. And when you're making money, make sure you're having fun. All right, take care. Bye for now.